50,000 people affected, Ryanair passengers affected today due to a strike by air traffic controllers. The carrier, that's Ryanair, has said more than 300 flights have been cancelled all over Europe not because they're going to France, not because they're coming from France, but because they have to go through French airspace. And Michael O'Leary, this isn't the first time this has happened, and on a previous occasion, Michael O'Leary hit out and said, look, this is simply not fair.
France is using minimum service legislation to protect its local French flights, but all of the cancellations are then being disproportionately passed on to English flights, Irish flights, Italian flights, Spanish flights, German flights. This is unfair. When there's ATC strikes in Italy, they protect overflights. In Greece, they protect overflights. France must be required by the EU Commission to protect overflights. We respect their right to strike, but if they want to strike, cancel the French flights, protect the overflights.
Eoghan Corry of Air and Travel magazine. Eoghan, for once, I think he's actually got a very solid point. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's the protection of the overflights is pretty much the core Ryanair argument for a while. There's a petition going on it. The only flights affected today, ironically, because welcome to the weird and wonderful world of aviation politics, the strike was called off. But at that stage, the French authorities had asked the airlines to cancel a proportion of their flights. So it's really only flights to and from France that are affected today, and there's no reason for it because the strike is not going ahead. It's just a knock-on from the whole process had started, contacting passengers, rearranging, rescheduling. The brakes couldn't be put on that because the cancellation of the strike came too late. It's not just Ryanair, as you pointed out. That's an Air France flight that's affected from Cork to Paris today. And while 300 Ryanair flights are affected, 2,000 flights altogether from different airlines have been cancelled today over a strike which isn't going ahead in the first place.
That is even madder than the first part of the conversation.
Pretty much. Welcome to the world of politics. One of the things that happened that was supposed to be an improvement was a 48-hour notice had to be given of strike action. Now, Ryanair are saying protect overflights, A4E, of which the IAG, the parent of Aer Lingus and Ryanair and Air France are all members. They say it should be longer. It should be 21 days, and there should be a legally binding arbitration process so that when somebody in an air traffic control centre decides he's going on strike, there has to be some sort of talks in advance. That's not the case in France at the moment. As Michael O'Leary alluded to, domestic flights are protected under different parts of French legislation. He just wants all of this put together in one band and said, we can't have a situation where air traffic controllers who are highly paid or have a free licence to cause all sorts of disruption on a whim. The reason it happens so much in France, one of the reasons, but the main reason is that there are three competing unions. One has about 41% of air traffic controllers, another is 24%, and another is 22%. And they're competing for members. They're competing in terms of belligerence. When one of them signs a deal, the other one say, oh, that's not good enough, we'll get a better one. So we've been ongoing, almost incentivizing French air traffic control strikes, and we've seen lots of them at this stage.
We've been long told, Eoghan, and God, over the next couple of weeks we'll be blue in the face from listening to things that people will tell us they can affect that have absolutely nothing to do with the European Union. But is Michael O'Leary right? Could Ursula von der Leyen order the French unions to allow the overflights?
Yeah, the Commission is where all the action is. The member states, the Council of States is where the problems will arise, because no French politician is going to ask yet for European legislation which will affect French trade union laws, rights and trade union policies, which, they're not as evolved as they are in Ireland. Listeners will have seen reeling in the years, those huge bus strikes, bin strikes, all of those things that happened in the 70s, 80s, brought the place to a halt, tanker drivers. Over a period of time, we got a process in place, with the National Implementation Board, the Labour Relations Commission, the Labour Court, to try and prevent strikes going from basically the one weapon that the union has is to go on strike. They're going from zero to madness very quickly. France has not really been able to address that industrial relations problem, and they're not in the French. No French politician is going to say to Europe, come in and sort this out for us. So while Michael O'Leary,
but the question is on I was asking is Michael O'Leary seems to have us in him. Michael O'Leary seems to believe that Ursula von der Leyen has the power within herself and the Commission to turn around to France and say, "Cop on, the flights will continue." Does she have that power?
She doesn't have the power to do anything internal, but what he's hoping is she'll have the power to say to Eurocontrol, pass the control of the air traffic control over to adjoining states. That's what happens in Greece, Italy, places like that. Yeah. And that is something she has the power to do. It means the Commission run into problems with the Council of States and with the European Parliament? Would there be pushback against it? So he's asking for politicians to show a little bit of mettle, a little bit of a will to do something that would be politically uncomfortable with one of the most powerful states in the Union. And that's a big ask, as you know, with politicians.
I'm just thinking how long we'd last here, Eoghan, if our air traffic controllers went on strike and a flight from, and I'm not too sure whether it would, but let's just imagine it was, a flight from Paris to New York was affected by that. Wouldn't last 5 minutes.
Well, the interesting thing was that we did have a strike. It's about 15 years ago, and the response of the Irish Aviation Authority at the time was to publish the salaries of the air traffic controllers, and that pretty much put a stop to it. I think it was solved fairly quickly. The reality is that overflights would be allowed over Ireland pretty quickly if the air traffic controllers here decided to strike, because we've a huge airspace that goes well out into the North Atlantic. It would be very economically damaging to the whole of Europe.
All right. Okay. Eoghan, thank you very much. Eoghan Corry, travel journalist of renown and editor of Air and Travel magazine. And again, thanks for being available to us on the Opinion Line.